That statement really quick of like letting life come back to us as if we had to beg for that. As if we had to beg for that. It's ours, it's ours. And
yeah,
I gotta put my costume on.
All right. And before we actually start, are you able to turn your phone sideways?
I can try that. What, like a
yeah, so
wider.
then we have a wider screen.
Okay, yeah, gotcha.
That way people will be able to.
They can see, how do I'll get better at it. I wish I had like a stationary, and I got to stop doing that. No, I wish I had a stationary, a camera mounted somewhere, and I got to stop putting the hand thing. But
and I'm going to get you a laptop with a headset microphone. So we'll equip you.
What kind of dog is that?
What kind of dog is that?
Yeah, what's a laptop?
Oh. Yeah. It's a golden laptop.
Oh, a golden. Oh, so it's a really good one. So it's already broke. No, so all you people know, this is the only second that, and all we are here for is to help anybody at all that is struggling. And I got to put my costume on.
All right, Jay, you put your costume on, and I'm going to go ahead and I'll wait till you are geared up, and then I'll announce our podcast.
The reason I'm putting this on is actually a message for people who have been hurt, which all of us have. And this, it's a costume of we've been insulted, hurt our whole lives, and what do? We put something on to hide how we actually feel. We hide because we've been hurt so many times that we can't even show our true selves. So then before this, we just started. Hang on a second. I love you, Mom. And
I love you, Jay.
People, hang on. I'll get better at this,
You just be yourself, Jay.
And that's what we're trying to teach everybody else that might have an ear to listen.
Yeah.
Just be ourselves.
That's right.
I feel more cool. I feel more comfortable. All right.
Welcome, Jay, and welcome to Arise and Shine podcast. Jay's back for his second time, and we're going to talk about the silent epidemic of men in abusive relationships with women. Yes, I said it, women. So welcome back, Jay.
Thank you.
So this week, my friend, her son was abused by his ex-girlfriend, and she bit him. The bite marks on the top of his head were so bad, he needed emergency medical care, and his mother had to take him to the hospital. And when the police came, they told his mother that statistically, usually by the 7th time, these kind of things result in death. and or else very, very serious injuries. This is not something that is talked about. And it happened this week, and Jay is here because this kind of thing happened to him in a 28-year marriage. And he talked a little bit last week, very bravely, about some of the emotional and verbal abuse. And this time, he's going to be even braver, which it's a very hard thing to talk about, especially for men, to have to live that kind of a thing. But God has done so much healing in Jay's life. And thank you, Jay, for being here. You got the floor, buddy.
I'm not even sure exactly where to go with that, other than that is horrible. That is horrible. Nobody should ever be subjected to something like that. I mean, when you have this person in your life that you're supposed to be able to trust, and all of a sudden they're biting you, and then they're pulling a knife, and you sit there going, this is normal. So I got to back up a lot. When I was younger, I was taught to love, honor. I had vows inscripted in me even before marriage. I had vows that just said, love, honor, cherish, respect everyone. And we don't have to live that way. We do not have to live that way. You have permission. Everybody out there, please. You have permission. If somebody is treating you horribly, you have permission to walk. I wouldn't say walk. I will say run. Run away. Run away. The story that Mom was just saying about this girl biting and then a knife. Man, there is zero reason at all that anybody should be subjected to that, let alone if you're just sitting there, watching TV, you're minding your own business, and you're the kindest person in the world, and all of a sudden you have this abusive thing right in front of you that takes away your safety, your honesty, your everything, and they just take them away. No, you have permission. This is, I think, the message that my mom and myself, the only message we're relaying to you guys is you don't have to take that ever.
That's right.
Ever.
And it doesn't start with the knife or the biting or the being smacked in the face or being kicked, like or it would be easy. You would run. I mean, it starts with like being emotionally or verbally abused, and then it escalates jealousy, control, like manipulation and being treated horribly, and it builds, and then it starts escalating to the violence. And
you are very correct, and I didn't want to interrupt you, but you are very correct. It starts with vocal things. What's that word? Manipul. We got to make some jokes in here.
Yeah.
But no, that's where it starts. From my experience, anyway. It started without verbal abuse. It started with verbal abuse, and then if if you don't have that backbone because you respect them so much, they all of a sudden take that weakness, which is not weakness. They take that as, oh, I can do this now. And then it escalates into physical. And I implore, I encourage, I pray. I pray for those that if they're subjected to this kind of a relationship, if you're being emotionally, verbally abused, you might kind of want to find that door and don't look back, because that kind of person is toxic, and it might just escalate into just what Mom was saying. They start biting you or pull a knife on you. No, anybody, if they care about you at all, please, people, please, if they love you, they would never hurt you. Verbally, physically, emotionally, they would never hurt you.
Right. And, you know, like when a relationship starts, it doesn't start out bad because there's love and they put on their best behavior and you know, it seems like everything's okay at first. And then otherwise it'd be easy, you know, you would just run. And it can get to the point where there's fighting. I mean, everybody has fights, every relationship, there's disagreements. But
Yep.
how did it start for you, Jay? Like, when did you first realize something was off, or did it happen slowly enough and gradually enough that it kept building on itself to the point where, kind of like a frog, where you're heating up the water and the frog's not going to notice it's getting too hot until it's dead, you know?
It was, honestly, it was kind of like a cancer. It was, you know, it started happening so slowly that it just felt normal, you know. And then, like you and I, the way that we were programmed, literally programmed, to love, honor, cherish. Like I said, like the whole the vow thing. I was doing vows to somebody that I wasn't even married to. But to answer your question honestly, no, it started slowly. It started slowly, but everybody's different.
Yes.
I had that programmed into me to just put up with it. You know, put up with it. But yes, it slowly started to build. And then, you know, then you hear a rumor. Oh, do you know that your partner was cheating on you? And you never want to believe it. Okay. And then, to answer honestly, that's when it started. When I questioned her about her faith, her trust. And she threw it right at my face. And I could see it right away. I could smell a lie like a fart in the car with the windows up on a hot day. I felt it. I felt it in my heart. I felt it in my gut. And that's when it started. That's when
things escalated.
Yep. It was just a simple question of, are you doing something against me that I asked you not to do? That's when it started. So yes, it was a slow cancer, And then all of a sudden, like always, the truth will always come out.
Yeah, it does. Like when someone is being mean to us, regardless of what the relationship is, we feel it inside of us that something's, we don't like it. We may put up with it because we love the person. But, when it gets to the point where they start like crossing that line, it's like, I think sometimes what happens is our belief about our own worth gets in there. And then it's like, we've put up with it so many years. And then when it escalates, it's like something happens that, well, I'm supposed to love this person. I'm supposed to stay with this person. Like, and then we put up with more because of the beliefs that we have, like staying in a relationship, or, when you have children together, or, whatever the thing is. So
That's another good one. That's another good one. Not to interrupt you, and you're on an awesome path right now. That's another good one. That one word, line. When you cross that line, does anybody even respect that? Does anybody even respect that? That line. It's not like an ultimatum or anything like that at all. It's, if they cross that line, what are you supposed to do with that? They're supposed to respect you.
So I'm going to use this as a little teaching moment here. Jay was talking about respect, and when people cross that line. And, like when you're growing up, you're not taught about boundaries and how this is your self and the other person is their self. And when there's disrespect in families and people do cross the line, it's like, that's what it's all about. When there's respect in a relationship, and Jay would respect his wife and his wife should respect him. When that line is crossed, and, there's been yelling, there's been some emotional, verbal abuse, but when that line is crossed, where the physical self is touched inappropriately, like pushed or shoved or hit or slapped, or, sometimes we might hold out our hand and say, no, don't come any closer, or I need some space or whatever. But, that's fine because, sometimes we need that. But when that line is crossed, it's like, once that person crosses that line, then maybe next time they cross it a little more, they see what happens. And now Jay was trained and taught not to hit a woman. And so when that physical line was crossed, Jay, what was that like for you as a man, and just for you as a person in a relationship with somebody that you loved?
When that line was crossed, regardless of male and or female, I was self-taught enough that I would never physically hurt somebody unless absolutely necessary. And then I had to take it. I had to take it. 28 years of this person that I thought was loved, for me, that I never touched her back ever. And then I'm just supposed to take this. I'm supposed to take this from somebody. It felt like that. That's the way that love was supposed to be, because that's what we were trained trained to do. You know, I had no voice. I had no nothing. I took this person as this is what I'm supposed to do. And that song that we made, Mom, of this is normal, you know, the cage felt normal to me. No, the abuse felt normal to me. You know, I implored. I got to that point where, no joke, I promise, when she would hit me like a female Mike Tyson, I smiled. And there was times that we would argue and I'm like, is this all you have? You know, I don't want to say the word, but no, I won't. No, I got to that point, like, I'll just say it because I have to. You hit like a bitch. And I'd smile. Can I have another one? And it got to that point where the abuse felt joyful because the abuse was the only attention I could get.
That I have never heard anybody say that before, Jay. Well, for one thing, men don't usually talk about this kind of a thing anyway, because it's like men are taught to be strong and not to appear weak, and to say that is just very profound. Thank you for like spelling it out for people, because it does become like, this is normal, you know, this must be what love is. You lose your voice, and what are you supposed to do when you've been trained not to hit back, and you've been, you know, like taught that, you know, relationship and marriage, you know, really means something. You weren't taught or equipped to like, well, what do I do when this happens?
Yeah, and what do? You know, you're walking on eggshells all the time, and it just becomes normal, you know. And then all of a sudden something happens where you get that one opportunity of, wait a minute, there's an open door, or there's a window, and you go, am I able to leave this? I'm so stuck where I am. This is normal, but something beautiful over there caught my eye. And I'm not talking, you know, people, please don't do that thing where you just jump from one relationship to another one. I'm talking about, if you feel trapped and abused, you have every right to leave. You have every right to be safe. And
Yes.
that song that we wrote, Mom, yes, when I had that one opportunity where I seen just a glimpse of freedom, I remember and did it. See, sorry people, my children, my daughter was already old enough. She had a baby, and abusive boyfriend, the piece of crap dad who did nothing for my granddaughter, already living at the house. And then my son, he was at an age he could take care of himself. And I remember saying that one morning. I talked to my daughter, I talked to my son, and I said, I have to leave. As my boy goes, what do you mean you have to leave? And I said, I can't take this anymore. You'll be fine. And it took my ex-wife 3 days to find out that I actually grabbed my material things, just, you know, personal items. I left her everything. And
Yeah,
then
it meant
3
more to
days,
you just to get away.
right? I couldn't be there anymore. I wanted to die. I wanted to end myself. I would never
Yeah.
hurt my ex and or my children, but I was at the stage of wanting to hurt people. And so every time, if you're in a relationship where your gut and or your heart feels something wrong, trust your gut, trust your heart, walk. Don't walk, run away
Yeah.
from it. Because if they're a good person, and this is my biggest thing right now, if they are a good person, you should have zero concern at all. Zero. Because they're there to love you. They won't emotionally abuse you. They won't yell and scream at you. They will never touch you. If they do, they're going to give you a hug. And
Yeah.
if you're crying and you hit your knee, they're going to hug you. They're going to be there for you. The ones that are not, right here, Mom.
Yeah.
Bye
Like,
bye.
bye-bye.
And you don't even have to. No, they have to. If they got the Lord in their heart, just like that, the meek, we sheath our swords. We know what we can do, but we will not do that. Why do
Right.
they do that to us? If they're a good person, you have nothing to worry about. If your gut says, just there you go. Bye bye. See ya.
Yeah, like earlier, Jay, you were saying how all of us have been, like, had some kind of trauma. But it seems like there's two kinds of people. There's the ones that have trauma, and, when they realize, like you have, Jay, that, well, there's a different way of living. And then when you have the opportunity, it's like, okay, like, there's a door or a window that opens where you see light at the end of the tunnel. Now, people like your ex-wife, those people, it seems like they were hurt, something happened to them in their life, and instead of dealing with it, instead of feeling their emotions, instead of getting help, they are like a bulldozer. They take whatever happened to them and they like mow over everyone and everything in their path. They never take responsibility for anything. If they ever do say they're sorry, it's just so that you won't, like, say anything more about what they're doing. And it's like they're really evil. It's like something in them is like this personality disordered, um, harmful, toxic person that doesn't really feel empathy. They don't feel bad for what they did.
That's a good
They
word. They don't have empathy. And you
no.
know, you do you know what I call those?
What?
A piece of pit.
A piece of pit?
Yeah, not shit. Pit.
Yeah.
A piece of pit. Because that's where they sit. They just sit in that pit, and they feel so bad and sorry for themselves. And then, if anybody comes around, they're sitting in that. They won't get out of it. They just want to drag you into it.
Yeah.
They call them a piece of pit.
That's good, Jay. And
Instead
they
of,
don't care who they mow down.
yeah, they don't. Yep, they don't. They don't care who they mow down.
Even their own children.
Yeah, that's a story right there. my own daughter going to get a coffee, and she's in the alleyway. She's in the alleyway as her own mom comes out, and they were kind of, having some bad vibes between each other. And my own ex-wife, the mother of my child, calls my daughter a bitch and throws a hot coffee at her through the window in the alleyway. As my daughter tells me this, and I'm like, wow, what a awesome lady she is. That's your own mother, my ex-wife, and she did that to you? Nobody deserves that.
No. Yeah,
If I was less of a man, see, that's where I would lay hands on a woman, but I never will I, never.
No.
But these women need to understand, if they're going to treat somebody like a man and hit like a man, they got it coming, because there are people out here that are they don't care. Ladies, they will hit you. So the big message right now that I would love to say, respect everybody, because you never know what they're capable of. And for the love of Pete, grab a book, find God. There's nothing wrong with that. You will never steer wrong if you find him.
Yeah, that respect that you talk about, Jay, there's a Bible verse that God wrote specifically for women, and it applies to men too, because we're supposed to respect each other. It says, wives, respect your husbands. No, yeah, sometimes, people get angry and they yell because they're upset. That's a more normal thing. But when a wife not only is disrespectful verbally and emotionally, but then starts to, get violent with physical abuse, all abuse is wrong. But that shows nothing but disrespect for them as a person. I mean, would they do that to just anybody out there? No, because it's a crime. If a woman did to someone else out there in the public what your ex-wife, when she was your wife, did to you, Jay, and just like my friend's son, what this ex-girlfriend did to him, they would get arrested, right?
You would think so.
But because you would think so. But because it's a person in a relationship and with a guy, with a man, it's so much harder because, like, when you're growing up as a guy, I don't know about this, but I've seen enough people in my life that it's like men are kind of taught, like, be strong, don't show weakness, don't show feelings. So if a guy tells another guy, my girlfriend hit me, what's the first thing they're going to say, Jay?
Well, to be honest, I had some, not friends, I'd call them acquaintances. Oh, you should have manned up and hit that bitch. As I go, no, I won't raise my hands on anybody unless absolutely necessary. And this is where females need to be very careful, because there are men that will hit.
Yes.
I mean, they'll punch a woman like they would punch, a heavy dude. and beat the ever living crap out of them and treat them like trash. But when you're that safe person, here's the other one. Number one, ladies, don't throw hands on a man because you might find the wrong one that'll hit you back. The other one, never lay your hands on anybody until absolutely necessary. And because that necessary is usually, if you think about it, zero.
Yeah.
If you're in a relationship where you're worried you have to put your guard up, you better get out of that relationship.
Yeah. Because then you're having to defend yourself, which you shouldn't have to. But when you told the guy that, or guys, and they, like kind of not joke it off or laugh it off, but say to hit her, you're not getting the support that you needed, or having somebody like really kind of get to your level where you're at right then and help you and say, well, hey, you don't have to put up with that, or like, you don't deserve that.
Yeah, nobody deserves anything like that.
No.
You shouldn't even have to be nervous. I mean, we can all get nervous. We jump in the car, we go to the store, and we run into people, and you can have some anxiety and stuff, but you should never feel it from your partner. Never.
Where you really know you're unsafe.
Right. You're like, am I riding with somebody I can even trust? And then here's a huge one. The biggest one right now. Though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, should I fear evil? No, because the Lord is with me.
Mm-hmm.
But see, that's just a prayer for Christians and people that actually believe in the Lord. And if you have him with you, you don't have fear of certain things. Yes, you can hurt me physically, but my spirit, when I have the Lord with, you'll never take that. You'll never hurt me again. But no, physically, yes, these people, men and or women, they need to watch their words, and they need to watch out of being physical. Because if somebody swings on you, they might swing back. And or if you say the wrong words and piss somebody off, they might do it again. They might swing back. Yeah. We don't know. We can't trust people these days. There's so much craziness in this world. It is insane.
There is. It seems like there's more violence in relationships, especially than ever before. And so you actually told another guy, and a lot of times that doesn't happen because it's like men don't tell other men. It's kind of like this unwritten rule out there, like you don't show that something's going on in your relationship, or that there's something that is troubling you, or that you don't know what to do about. So like, what do you think it is in our culture that when a woman is physically harming a person in their relationship, what do you think it is that causes men to feel like they can't tell somebody, or that they have to be silent about it?
That's a good question. Actually, I don't even have an answer for that.
Well,
it just, I guess it goes to that point of like a toxic relationship. Like if you're being abused, or you have that choice, that window's open, the door, you can walk away from it. Nobody, men and or women, they can be toxic or abusive. uh
yeah.
you should just always have that option of, this is my life, this is my choice, I choose what I want in it. I'm
Yeah.
not being abusive to people, but if they're being abusive to me, I have that door, I have that window. And some people, they feel trapped of, either they're so weak on themselves, and or they think they have nowhere to go. But there's always
That's,
option.
yeah. I think sometimes too that the shame that the person's already carried from their childhood stuff, the things that have happened in their life, and like we talked about respect earlier, like when the person doesn't have much self-worth and they're carrying the shame already, they feel so low already that it's like they lose the respect for their own self, and then they start to believe that this is what they deserve, that they don't deserve better.
You said it perfect right there. Yeah, they feel like they don't deserve any better, that they just get used to crap. And they
Yeah.
think, yeah, like, oh, I don't deserve any better. This is what my life is. And yep.
So like I did a podcast earlier. It's not uploaded yet, but one of the things that I had to stop and realize, Jay, is that because of what happened in my home where I grew up, my dad was always angry and there was a lot of rage and there was some physical stuff. And it was like, and then just other things. When I was going to marry your dad, I felt so low. I like your hat. I mean, emotionally.
Oh, sorry. I A habit I need to get rid of, but it's a lot safer than what a lot of other people do. It's just a cigarette. But yeah, anywho.
So when I got into a marriage that was abusive, um, I didn't think I was worth being treated any better than what I already had known. So I realized that because I wasn't role modeled, my mother, like sticking up for herself or me, I did the same thing, Jay. I didn't think I was worth anything. And so then I didn't stand up to your dad. And I never talk bad about him. And I pray for him. And we've had talks about this. But I'm looking at my heart in what you and your sisters had to live with. And I
Well,
admit that
I've seen it,
I
Mom.
did not defend my children. I did not protect them from their dad.
He's a very stern man, and I seen it even as a child. I I witnessed, uh did he love you? Yes. Obviously he loved you. But no, I seen it, heard it on he he had a voice like, like myself, deep, but we've talked about this before. Sometimes words can hit harder than fists. And it was very, how do I put this? Even at a young age, I could see that something, was going to happen. Even myself, as a kid. Now, I'm not saying anything bad about Dad. I'm not. But, it's like, how did you put up with that for so long? Even as a child, I didn't want to be there. I wanted to leave, and that's where I got in trouble as a kid. I ran off. I would run off, then get my ass licked, and then I'd just take it, and that was life.
Yeah. And just like what you're sharing, Jay, it's like how we feel inside, whether we're worthwhile. I felt worthless back then. And so the hardest thing, Jay, as your mother, that I've had to face is that because of the worthlessness that I carried, what I taught you in the way that I didn't defend you or protect you, because I didn't think I was even worth protecting or defending, is that you weren't shown an example of how to stand up for yourself, how to have something different than what I had that I just passed down, really. And it's not something that people talk about because, we each can admit the wrong that we have done. And it's kind of like we talked in the podcast before, like when you're trained a certain way, you're not shown something different. But, then I got healing. I left and thought that I could take my kids with me. And then the judge decided not to let that happen. It's like we can only do what we know at the time. And so by me getting healing, I did show you and your sisters a different way to live. And by me getting help, then when you are able to have healing and learn for yourself that you are worth much. And you, just like that video you sent me, Tim Tebow, tortured or treasured. I loved that. It's like when we're taught that we're treasured and worth protecting and worth defending, that's when we know our worth.
You trying to make me cry right now?
Would I do that?
But no, that's a huge one that we can deliver to people that are struggling. You have worth. Somebody out there somewhere cares about you, probably more than you even think. It's like when people hit that bottom and they're going, oh, nobody cares about me, and I should just end myself. And no, there's a person right here. I'm not doing it right. There's a person right here, and then the one on the other side of this. We love everybody. We'd bend over backwards to help you. And honestly, this podcast stuff that we're doing, we're not doing it to be famous. We're doing it to be out there for somebody that can relate to something, and we want to save you, and we're not charging you $40 to go to a counselor and go how's that make you feel? This is real.
Yeah.
We've both went through some battles. I mean, hit rock bottom. I know this is our podcast, but I don't know if you linked anything up, Mom, with the video they wanted to cancel. My son shouldn't be alive. I don't know if you linked anything up on that yet or not.
Yeah, I'm going to put what Jay's referring to is he sent me an audio message, and he was talking about when he wanted to die. And I put some pictures of Jay and some stuff together, and I'll put a link to the video in the description. But because Jay wanted to commit suicide and he wanted to end his life, but God had other plans for Jay, YouTube wanted to not allow the video to be shown. And to be able to watch it, you have to click that you're over 18, and then and only then can you watch it. But yeah, there's a lot of people that are in that same, they feel trapped, just like what Jay was talking about, and they don't know what else to do, and they do want to end their life.
Yeah, and then people, even if you, I didn't how would I say this? I didn't institutionalize myself. I was forced to be institutionalized, and I was locked up for 4 days in a hospital room. I was not even allowed conversations. I wasn't allowed visitors. I wasn't even allowed to go outside to have a cigarette or do anything. And I remember this nurse, and this is horrible. Do you even want me to? I mean, we're making a podcast, but do you want me to say this, Mom?
Yeah, feel free to talk about anything you want.
So
yeah,
the nurse,
go for it, Jay.
The nurse that came in, and she's like, "Mr. Cornwell, is there anything that you need?" And I said, "Yes, I need that pen." Maybe I shouldn't say this. If need be, Mom, cut it out.
I can put a graphic disclaimer on the beginning of the video and then let them know there's something graphic coming.
I said to the nurse as she asked me, "Is there anything you need, Mr. Cornwell?" As I said, "Yeah, I'm forced to be in here. I was arrested and they threw me in this hospital room." As the nurse actually says, "We are not trained to know what to do with this. Is there anything you need?" And this is 4 days as I've been stuck in this room. As I said, "Yeah, I need that pen." "Well, what are you going to do with that?" I said, "I'm going to stab myself in the neck with it. I'm done. You need to move me, figure something out." And that's when you remember, Mom, you and Frank and Tina come and visit me. That's when they finally transported me to Waterloo. Yeah, so people, if you're out there and you get forced into something, just because they put you in an institution doesn't mean they're there to help. You're just another number. The only one that cares about you is yourself. You got to hit that rock bottom. You do. You got to hit that rock bottom, and you got to pick yourself up. Find that book. Find God. Whatever religion that you choose. Know that God is there for you.
Yes, he is.
And You got to have the balls, though, for yourself. You got to be able to take care of yourself. You got to be able to read. You got to be able to have faith, hope. That's the big one.
Yeah.
If you give up on that, you gave up on yourself. Nobody's here to help you other than yourself.
Too many times people have shared that, Jay, that, they wanted to end their life. And of course, the usual protocol is to take them to a mental ward, institutionalize them, lock them up, treat them like a criminal, and they're not trained to know how to help you. And they really feels like they don't care. And it seems like they treat you worse than like the abuse that you came out of, and or just as bad. It's horrible. It's literally horrible. And just like what Jay said, like if you can grab a Bible, if you can, just cry out to the Lord, he hears you. He knows what you're going through. He can see everything that you're and that you have gone through your whole life. So if you're a man or a woman watching this, and somebody in your life, whether it's a girlfriend or a boyfriend, husband, wife, parent, if they are hurting you, or if you want to die and you want the pain to be over, that's what causes people to want to kill themselves. They just feel trapped. They feel alone. I just want to say this. You are worth protecting. You are worth defending. And you never deserved, not for 1 minute, the horrible treatment that you have experienced.
Amen, sister. Amen.
Amen,
no
bro.
Bro, I love that.
Yeah, I can honestly say Jay is one of my best friends. It's been amazing to reconnect for 7 years and have developed, have the healing that we've had, the experience we've both went through, the separation, and then now the relationship that we have. And we write songs together.
Amazing songs. Maybe one day we'll be famous, Mom, but we don't care about that, do we?
No, we don't.
That's the other message. That's the other message we need to give to people. Material things, you can burn them and rebuy them, replace them. Friends and family, you can't replace that.
No.
You can't.
No, you can't.
And people's lives, here's our biggest one. This just hit me. You take your life, it's gone.
Yeah.
And then think about the people that you left behind, and they wonder why you took your own life over what? A girlfriend? Somebody that hurt you? It's your life. Mm-hmm. Grab it. Take it. Run with it. Don't abuse people.
Right.
Don't abuse people. Be a good person. And if you're in that situation, this is the biggest one I gotta say. If you feel it in your gut, you feel it in your heart, and you don't feel safe, that door's open. I would advise you, find someone else. There's a lot of fish in the sea. Find a good one. Find someone that loves you. Find someone that makes you feel safe.
Yeah. And take the time that you need to heal. So if you are a person that's being abused, And I encourage you to tell someone. You're allowed to tell somebody. And even if you feel trapped, even if you don't know what you're going to do, even if you feel like you don't want to be alone and you can't survive being alone, I am, Jay and I are both here to tell you, you can't survive continuing to be abused. There's a hotline that you can call. Yes, even if you're a guy, the National Domestic Violence Hotline. You can call them at 1-800-799-7233. And if you're in immediate danger, call 911. Because what is happening to you is a crime. We don't always call it what it really is. It's abuse. You may have gotten used to putting up with it, but it's also a crime. And no one deserves to be treated like that. Ever. And if you're a mother and you have a son that has a girlfriend or a wife, and you see the red flags and he doesn't, I think that's one of the hardest positions to be in, depending on the relationship that you have with him. Sometimes if you tell him, well, I don't trust that girlfriend or that wife, or however we say it, he's going to become defensive because he loves her. And he's a man, and he's a person that needs to find their own way. But don't let that stop you from sharing. If you see something, go ahead and tell him, even if it ruins the relationship. Because if it means you're keeping him alive, it's worth it. He's worth it. Jay, what would you tell all the people that are viewing this? As a man to another man, or another young man, or an old elderly man who's being abused. What message do you have?
I would say to all men, being a good man is providing for people. Stop the showboat bull crap. Like, oh, I can do this many push-ups. I can hit a woman. I can do this. I can do that. No. A real man is a provider. A real man is somebody that loves, honors, and cherishes someone. A man that never raises hands. A man that's secure with himself. A man that's not abusive. So if I had that message that you just asked, what would I say? There you go. A real man is a man of value. We don't raise voices. We don't raise hands. We know what we are. And we don't have to worry about others' opinions, or we don't have to boast and brag. We can be friends, and, I implore people to, have fun. Have fun on the weekends and stuff. And, we got to be people. We got to laugh sometimes, too. We don't have to be serious all the time, but never raise hands.
Right. What about those, Jay, that don't know their worth, and they've got hands being raised directly at them, on them? They're being abused physically by a woman.
A woman or a man.
Yeah.
I would implore those people to vacate as soon as possible. It's gonna be scary, to you people, because change can be scary. But don't sit in a nest that's burning. And what I mean by a nest that's burning is if you feel like you're on fire all the time on eggshells and stuff and you're in that nest, find a different nest. It's hard.
It is.
I guarantee it's hard. But man, when you get out of that, you're going to feel a whole lot better. And what does healing take? There's one word: time.
And it is a process.
Yeah, nothing's going to happen overnight. Everything takes work. And change. Believe me, you know this, Mom. I had to do it many times. And yeah, no, time, people.
Yes. Jay, last summer, I think it was during your birthday.
Give it time. And yes, you'll do it.
Our internet glitched for a little bit, but it's back now. But yeah, last summer when you were in JLJ, you had some time then, and you were alone in this, well, as alone as you can be in a jail cell with other inmates. But you had some time to reflect and to evaluate your relationships and really think about the things that had happened to you, your 28 years of marriage, and just all the stuff that had happened in your life. You were able to see who's really in your corner and like what you needed to let go of. What did you realize in there?
Oh, that's a heavy, deep one. Yeah, what I realized as I sat in there and started reflecting about things, and like you were saying, people in my corner, what I realized is nobody. When I really broke it down, I realized the only one I had was myself and the Lord. That was it. I mean, obviously I have, my mom and my dad and my sisters and stuff, but even sometimes like that, when you are really struggling, even though you got people that care about you, when you're in a situation like that, the only way to rebuild yourself is you have to really find yourself. And you better open that book and you better find God, because nobody else, they don't, when you're institutionalized like that, you're not always allowed visitors, or then there's people coming in and out, cellmates and stuff. And you'll find some horrible people. People, obviously, I was in there for a DUI, but then there was people in there, because they were pedophiles, child rapers and stuff. And that is horrible, because then there was like cellmates and stuff that I had. And I'm in there for a DUI, just doing my time. And all of a sudden I had to make another choice of, I'm already in jail. Do I want to extend my sentence time because this new person they brought into my cell, they brought into my hell, because there was 4 of us in my block there was 4 of us that we were going to take this person down because they were a child molester.
Plus, didn't
So
he
it goes
threaten
to that whole
you?
thing. Yes.
He threatened your life, and you end up having to defend yourself.
Right. And it goes to that thing of another message for all of anybody who's watching this. You never really know somebody, so always be careful. And then when you're low, your self-esteem's down and you feel like you want to end, you're like, I'll just take any chance I can. And then you trust the wrong person. And then all of a sudden, you're in a bad boat again. Bad boat. Out in the middle of the ocean, and there's no land anywhere, and you sink. Now you're drowning again. You're drowning again. Over a bad choice. You got to trust your heart. If you can't trust that boat, don't get in it. Don't get in it.
Yeah. Good advice, Jay. Jay, I'm so glad you did another podcast, and thank you for what you shared. It took courage, and I'm so proud of you. I love you, and thank you so much for all the sharing that you did, because I know it can't be easy. It's one thing to share it with me, over the last 7 years, but to share it with people that takes a lot of courage. So I want to thank you for coming on here and describing a little bit of the hell that you went through because of having a wife that didn't respect you and crossed the line.
Well, like that, it's only our second time, and yeah, our message. I don't want to overtalk, on my mom, but yeah, our biggest message is this. This is for anybody who's struggling, and yeah, I thank you, Mom, and I'll get better at it. I'm just on a cell phone. I don't have a planted spot, and then I'm just put that right
From Jay's
there.
garage.
We got what we got, and like I said, material things don't matter. And
No.
I love you so much, man.
I love you, Jay. And I'm going to put I'm going to put one of the songs that Jay wrote on here, so that people can listen to the words. And I hope and pray that it inspires everybody watching. Thanks to all the people that tuned in. If you know somebody that could really benefit hearing Jay's story, please share it with somebody that also needs the hope that there is through Jesus. So thanks everyone for watching, and thank you, Jay, and make sure you like and subscribe, and comment in the comment section. If you are being abused and you've never told anybody, put it in the comments. We're here for you. We love you, and God bless you. Thanks, Jay.
Well, everybody, and love you too, Mom. You have a good night. Thank you.
You too. Bye. Love you.
Bye.
I was trained to do what I was told. Emotionally and verbally abused. But I walked out that door, and I learned that I have options. I went from being like a caged dog, but I found freedom. when that kennel door opened. I found out I could walk out that door. And then I ran to freedom. I was trained to do what I was told. Kept my head down, kept my heart controlled. Words hit harder than a fist sometimes. Left their chains somewhere inside my mind. I was treated like I had no worth, like I was born to crawl through dirt. Silence, shamed, afraid to breathe, like there was nothing left of me. But something holy met me there, in the dark beneath the prayer. God found me where I could not stand, and put my life back in my hands. Then I saw that open door. I wasn't theirs anymore. This is my life, I can choose. I don't have to live abused. Nobody owns me. I'm not a dog in a cage. Nobody owns me. I'm a man with a name. Nobody owns me. I'm not living under shame. I've got value, dignity, and purpose. I'm a man you tried to break, but I'm coming back again. I didn't think that freedom was possible. The cage seemed normal to me. God showed me I could have freedom. So I decided to walk out that door and leave. I learned that I have options now. I don't have to keep my head bowed down. You don't have to answer that door. You don't have to bleed anymore. You can close the door, let silence fall. You don't have to answer every call. Only open it to who you want. Only let the faithful give you love. Even though I carry a sword, and I know what I can do with it, I will not harm people. I won't become the pain or the violence silent. I've seen abuse, survival and shame, jail and fire, hurt and blame. But music kept a breath in me, and God unlocked what I couldn't see. When that door opened, I found out I had freedom. When that door opened, I found out I could live. Nobody owns me, because Jesus set this man free. I'm not a dog, but a human. I'm a man with a name, and I refuse to carry someone else's shame. Nobody owns my name. I've got value, dignity, and purpose. I'm not living under shame. I'm a man with integrity and honor. That cage came open wide. Freedom is possible. I no longer need to hide. God showed me I could leave, because nobody owns me. If you have ever felt owned by someone else's cruelty, controlled by shame, silenced by abuse, you too can run out that gate. It's never too late. If you were trapped in a life you did not know how to leave, my testimony is for you. You are not what they did to you. abuse. I'm not yours anymore. I never was. You had it all wrong. My music is my declaration. I found my voice in this song. Nobody owns me. I'm not a dog in a cage. I don't get into anger and rage. I'm a man with a name, and I know I wasn't to blame. Nobody owns me. I've got value, dignity, and purpose. I'm not living under shame. The cage can open. Freedom is possible. God showed me I could leave. Nobody owns me. I was lonely when you left. I felt like nobody cared about me. Couldn't they see that I was dying? I was trapped, forgotten, unseen. But the Lord came after me.